Hi, this is Brett Ingram, entrepreneur and award-winning product creator, and today I want to help answer the question, is buying white label software a good investment? So a software business is something that a lot of people are excited about. When they think about the idea of running something where it's all digital, it's all in the cloud, there's very little that we need to do on a daily basis. We don't have to worry about inventory. We don't have to worry about hard costs of things. There's some development cost, but it's very easy to run once it's set up because the software runs in the cloud. People are able to access it, do what they need to do with it, and we can charge monthly fees. So the software business, software industry in general is super hot. It's high demand. Lots of people want to get into it. And especially when it comes to SaaS or software as a service. Because the idea is, again, people sign up, they do a subscription type of a situation, and they pay every single month for use of whatever product or software that we're offering. And most of us are actually customers of these kinds of services because if we're doing anything from like online streaming to online music to any of these other online services, those are all things where we probably pay a monthly fee, like for Netflix or Amazon, maybe some Spotify, some of these other services, and basically we're paying a monthly service for those so we can use it. So depending on the type of software that we want to go into, and depending on the type of offerings that we want to be able to provide, the question becomes, what is the best way to be able to get that software up and running? Because white label software is one easy and fast way to do it, but it has some pros and cons. So what exactly is white label software? Well, white label software is simply a software app that somebody else made, and they're allowing us to put our own brand on it. So in general, they're going to be selling it to obviously more than one user. We wouldn't be the only person to be able to purchase it, but at the same time, we can rebrand it and rename it whatever we want. Oftentimes we can run it on our own domain. So the fact that somebody else created it is usually invisible to our end customer. And so what it allows us to do is basically avoid a lot of the other issues that you'd have in trying to run a software company or start a software company, and allow you to sort of get up and running faster. So it's simply a software app that has no name or brand on it that you can put your own on and run it as yours. That's what white label software is. So it's as though if Netflix came to you and said, listen, you can run your own movie streaming service here. You can put your own name on it, and we'll provide all the support. We'll provide the actual software. We'll do the updates and all these other things. All you need to do is market it and sell it, and you can put your own name on it. That's the same idea. Now, oftentimes it's done with smaller software apps than that. We're usually talking about things that are like online or digital services. But nonetheless, that's the general idea. That's how it works, and there are some definite pros and cons. So the question is it the right thing to do? Well, in terms of advantages, one of the biggest advantages is that it's instant. If you sign up for something that has white label option to it, most often the software is already ready to go, and literally you can usually get started within a day or at least a few days of basically having what would be considered your own software business that you can start to market and start to generate sales from. So that's a huge advantage, because if you're trying to create software, that takes a long time. You need to have the idea, then you need to get the development team or the developers or whatever, and then you need to have it created. In addition to that, you have to think through what all the features are going to be. You have to bug test it. You have to do all these other things. In general, if they're selling a white label, for the most part, it's going to be something that is either already tested and up and running and working, or it's something that there's at least a team dedicated to. So if issues arise, they're there to be able to solve those. So it's ready. It's ready to go. Not only can you get started almost instantly, but you're also ready to go in terms of being able to market it. Now, depending on the offering and depending on what the software app is, some of them will give you a built-in sort of sales page or sales ideas or whatever. Others you may need to create your own marketing for. So again, there's sort of a trade-off there depending. The other advantage about having white label software is that it's maintained. Essentially, it's maintained for you. So the great thing about software is that, as everybody knows, you get it up and running, all these people start coming in, they're paying you monthly fees, that's great. The downside that you don't always see is that the app requires maintenance. Anytime that users report issues, they need to be resolved. Anytime that there are software bugs or features that need to be added, those things need to be done because there's always competitors and customers are fickle about where they spend their money. So if they're paying you a monthly fee, they aren't going to keep paying it if they feel like there are bugs in the software or they feel that there are features that are missing. And so by buying white label, if it's a company that's standing behind it and it's not sort of a one and done sale, they often maintain the app in the background. The other thing is, a lot of cases, it's proven, right? So if this is a software app that they've created and it's something that's already been launched into the market one place or another, chances are it's proven. You may or may not be able to leverage those sales stats to make additional sales, but you at least have proof of concept that this particular product was put in the market, people paid money to get it, and they're excited to be able to do that. So that. I mean, there's nothing worse than trying to create a software app where you go through all the effort, you think that you've got what the market wants, you put it all together, and then you go to sell it and no one's interested in it. I actually have a colleague that I work with, and he had created a number of different really successful software apps. And the funny thing is, he told this story one time we were all sort of sitting around, and he said, he created this one version of software that nobody really ever heard of. And the funniest part about it is, it was, in his opinion, the best of all the ones that he made. But when he went to launch it, it absolutely failed. Nobody was interested, nobody bought it. And it took him a while to figure out why, but after the fact, he realized that he baked so much into it that the marketing for it was so confusing that even though it was super powerful, people didn't understand how to get value or how to use it. So they weren't interested in buying it. And so, that's a tough lesson to learn. Now, in his case, he had already had a number of successful ones, so it wasn't as big a deal. But if you're creating it from scratch, and then we go and we try to launch something like that and it doesn't work, that's tough because we spent all that time, we spent all that money, and then we're not able to recover that. Another, benefit of it is that it's concrete. And what I mean by that is the software is done. We don't need to think through in our mind, well, what other features would people want? The company that created the software already did this. They already vetted it. They already figured out what are the features that we need to add. So we don't need to think about that. We don't need our creativity. So if we struggle with sort of figuring out how to do features or being able to finish a project because we have so many new ideas every time we get close to the finish line, we can never get through it. All those problems are solved because when you go in with white label, you're getting what they offer. So it's also very simple, right? There's not a lot of moving parts. Once it's up and running, you know exactly what you've got. You know exactly how to pitch it, what the features are, and everything else. So those are all the advantages. Now, it's important to note here too, and we're going to talk about the disadvantages, that there are different levels or different types of even white label software. And what I mean by that is the common mainstream ones, if you do searches online for this, what you'll find is a lot of companies that are actually a legitimate company with a legitimate sort of team that backs this app. But their pricing model, and so they're always updating it, they're always improving it, so you know that it's going to run really well and all that. But their pricing model is like per seat. So every time that you sell it, you have to pay them a fee monthly for every user. So what you need to do is charge money that's higher than what you have to pay, so you net a profit. But basically you're paying every month for the usage of the seats that you have. Now, it's limited risk because If people aren't using it, you aren't paying. But at the same time, there's a built-in amount of overhead, there's a built-in amount of expense that you have to overcome in order to be profitable. Now, in those types of business models for white label, oftentimes the product is really good. It has a lot of features. They're reinvesting in it because they're actively making money. Now, the other side, the flip side of that, and these are a little bit more obscure. They're not always easy to find. You can't always get one for everything, but sometimes you get a developer, or you get a marketer or someone who created something, and then they've decided that they're done with it for one reason or another, or they just want to generate some additional capital. So what they'll do is they'll actually offer a white label license and say, look, I'm not supporting this, I'm not doing anything else with it additionally, but you get it free, clean, and clear. So if you want to buy this, then you don't need to keep paying for it, but you're also on your own. So it's sort of a in between, like you don't need to create your own software, so you still get to get started fast, but you don't have the benefit of the back office and the support and all that other stuff. You'd have to take it and run with it. But in that case, at least you have the ability to modify the software, you have the ability to charge what you want. So there are various different types, and you pay a one-time fee and then you're done. So it's important to distinguish between that too, because when you're searching for white label software, you may run into various different pricing models and different setups. Now let's talk a little bit about the disadvantages of white label, because it's not all champagne and roses. One of the issues that you have is that you have lack of control, right? Once you bought into this, if you decide, hey, listen, you know what, I wanted to do this, or I want to change the pricing model, or I want to try this as a marketing method, you have lack of control because you don't control the back office app. So if you wanted to, start to offer free trials, or you wanted to do, some of these other things, you may not be able to do that if you're paying per seat. You aren't going to be able to do anything with the app itself because the company controls that. So unlike with your own software where you have total control, you build a software app, you can do whatever you like with it. And so you can make whatever modifications you want. It's also potentially static. Even though a company may update the software, right? In general, the features set might stay the same. Now, if it's a huge profit margin for them and it's a big, cash cow, they may keep investing in it and adding new features, but there's no guarantee. They also may just keep it the way it is, fix bugs, but that's it. So the features you get are the features you've got, and they're never going to change. So that might be tough to keep going long term, because customers may expect you to constantly evolve the software. There could also be competition. If you're buying it, it's not likely they're selling one white label license unless they're selling it for a ton of money. So they're going to be selling it to other people too. And so those people are going to have the ability to also market it and compete with you. And so it's important to understand that when you create your own software, you have the ability to create it with unique features that nobody else has. You also might be unable to modify it. If it's something that they house in-house and they let you resell it essentially under a white label license, but they don't let you edit the code or add features, then you might be limited in terms of what you can offer. And the same thing comes to the pricing model. As I mentioned before, if they're charging you $10 or $15 a seat per month, well, you don't have the ability to try to offer it at $19 a month because you're never going to make any profit with that. So you're going to be stuck offering it at a higher price. So even if competitors come into the market or other things happen and you wanted to be able to offer things at a discount or change the pricing model, or maybe offer people like a lifetime option, you aren't going to be able to do that because you have to pay every single month. And so that's another problem. And then one of the big things too that often, we don't think about up front, but it's an important thing to consider, is exit strategy. So when we have our own software and we built it, we have unlimited exit strategies. If we build it, we can divest it and sell it, right? We can merge it with another company. We can do all of these other things, and we can cash out if we built it into something that's successful and profitable. If you're running a white label business, even if you build it up pretty big, the issue that you're going to have is you can't sell their end software because it's theirs. It's not yours. You're using a white label license to it. And so no one is going to be interested in buying your business because it isn't really yours. And they know, just like we know, that at any given day, that company can decide to stop supporting that product, and there goes your business. So there's more risk involved in that way. There's less upfront risk because you aren't spending the money to develop the software. You aren't risking there not being a demand for it and all these other things. But there's bigger risk down the road because in terms of their ability to continue to maintain the product, if they get to a point where they aren't making profit on it anymore, they may say, you know what, we're done with this. We're not going to do it anymore. As of this date, we're shutting down this particular software app. And then there go all your customers, there goes your business. Also, if you do build it up, you aren't able to sell it off and cash out because it's their software, not yours. So those are sort of the pros and cons. You can see why that makes it a little bit complex. So the question still persists, is it a good investment? Well, ultimately, it really does depend. For me personally, I bought white label products. I've also created my own software from scratch, and I've created software from scratch and then sold it as white label. And so I'm going to share my experiences and use cases so you get a real sense of this. So one of the things that I bought from Whitelabel was a website creator. And this was one of the ones, as I mentioned, where the company maintains it. I have no ability to edit it or modify it at all. There's very limited features that I can choose from as an admin. That said, the company is maintaining it. I pay a small yearly fee to keep it maintained, and I don't pay per seat. So I've been able to use this as a great add-in to some of my other products. I don't sell it directly as a monthly subscription, but I add it to some of my other products to make them more valuable. And that one for me has really been worth it because it's such a small annual fee and I don't have to worry about any of the maintenance of it. I know the app is up and running and I don't need to do anything about it. So in that particular case, buying a white label software made a lot of sense. Now, I've also bought a white label software that I'm turning into a flagship product. It's something where a little bit different than the first one. I'm able to modify the code. I'm able to make whatever changes I want. The only thing I wouldn't be able to do is offer a white label for it to other people. But if I eventually want to divest it or sell it off, I can do that. I can build it into a flagship product. I can charge people whatever I want. I have no ongoing maintenance or fees or costs to go with it. So that for me is still a question mark because I haven't officially launched it yet, but I'm developing that. And the benefit of that is it saved me months of development. It probably would have taken 6 to 12 months to develop what I needed to develop, and it would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And I got it for a lot less than that. So that was really beneficial because it's really good for speed and it's good on a limited budget. If you want to get to market fast, if you want to be able to take something and start selling it as opposed to spending months in development, or you have a limited budget where you're like, I really want to get into this, but I don't have thousands to invest in development of software, then white label software can be a great way to break in that way because it allows you so that's to do that in a real fast and easy way. And so basically those are some of the benefits there and some of the situations there. Now, I've created software from scratch. One of the software that I created from scratch was called My Traffic Business. And it was basically a script that allowed you to run a membership site that got your members free traffic. And so I did this years ago, and basically I was able to use it very successfully. And then I actually sold a white label version of it. And so it was a lot more expensive and it was more time consuming to create, but it ultimately had a big payoff at the end because the launch went really well. And then there was a white label option where some people got that and then they were able to turn those into successful businesses. So I actually had some success stories even from people that bought white label from me, which was really exciting. And so that was one example where I was able to do that. Now, I also did a video product, which was also super expensive and very time consuming. It actually has taken multiple years to create the final version because I started and I created one version, then another, then another, then another. and launch it as a different brand each time to keep developing and adding new features. And so I have total control over those apps, which is one of the nice things about it. And so I myself have had really good experience with Whitelabel, but I've been picky about the ones that I've wanted to invest in or that I've wanted to create for that very reason. So, you can tailor the market. The things about Whitelabel software or creating your own is that it's expensive and it's time consuming. When you create your own, you can tailor it to the market. So you can put it to whatever customer needs you think are out there. And when you create your own software, you could offer Whitelabel. So if you want to offer your own Whitelabel and then cash out, you're able to do that as well, which is a really nice thing to be able to do if you've invested money to get it started. So you can see that there are sort of pros and cons to both sides of it. Now, if you're just getting started in the software business or you're new to digital marketing and you're looking for a way to break into it, Whitelabel is a great way to limit your risk, to get to selling and profit faster, and to learn the business. If you have experience in digital marketing and or software, or if you want total control over the app, then it may make more sense to have it built. So the takeaway here is that Whitelabel software can be a great way to break into digital marketing, software and SaaS, because the investment is small versus building our own app, and we can go to market almost instantly. But with Whitelabel software, they may impose limits on pricing, features, and an exit strategy. So it's important to understand what our goals are up front to make the right decision about whether Whitelabel software is right for us.